Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live. Hey, I got a good one today. My friend for many years now, Peter Thomas. He is chair of AE Secure and a friend of Quasar Markets. And let me tell you, if anybody knows the gold markets and precious metals, and I love precious metals, it is Peter Thomas. Listen, he's world famous as the boy that ran the numbers for the Hunt brothers back in the day, right? Peter, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. It's always good to be with you, Steve. And watching Quasar grow has just been exciting. So glad to be here.
Thanks so much. Look, everybody has been excited about alternative investments, whether that is precious metals or crypto or land. But right now, it just seems that every country in the world is worried about the geopolitical issues that are going on. I've never seen this many geopolitical issues. And it seems that not just only people are buying gold, but countries are buying gold. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Let me give you an example. Out of the blue, I one of my buyers said, "You see who just bought, you know, 20 tons?" I said, "I didn't see any bids. What are you talking about?" He says, "Poland's in here. They're buying 20 tons, putting it in their central vault." I said, "Excuse me? Poland's never bought gold." He said, "They're here and they're buying with both hands." So we're seeing Azerbaijan come in.
Mm.
We're seeing former Eastern Bloc nations coming in strongly. The Chinese, who announced after 15 months of buying an average of 13 tons, which was their monthly allotment, they said, "Oh, we're not going to buy anymore. We're done. This is it. 15 months, no more." And then a buddy of mine calls me and he goes, Canada's here buying everything they can get their hands on, and they want us to send it to the central bank so it doesn't get reported." And I said, "Thank you."
Okay, so
So
let's talk about that. I mean, if
yeah,
if Poland is buying, obviously there are some geopolitical issues on the side, right? That
absolutely,
would be, I guess, Russia and things of that nature.
sure.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Is that why Poland is buying?
No, absolutely. Look at right now. Poland is probably one of the best nations for opening their gates, and they took millions of women carrying babies with just clothes on their back, from running from the Ukrainian war, and they have taken all those people in. So they are not strangers to war. It wasn't that long ago that they were, it took 3 days to cross through Poland by the Nazis. So they have suffered at war and they understand what happens to fiat currency in war. And with the Russians right on their border, and I think also the launching of the missiles really made them nervous, and they came in and started doing some hard currency for their central bank, Steve.
Yeah, and when you talk about Russia in general, they're also buying for their treasury as well. Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing, Russia, and this is interesting. Putin has always been a, a bull on metals, and he collects rhodium, platinum, palladium, gold, and silver, all of which goes into the vaults before its relief. It's a tax, if you will, on the production out of Siberia, which is really quite large. So to answer your question, absolutely, absolutely, Russia has, but they have never stopped. They're just quietly assimilate.
And when you think about it from country perspective, and I see that in the news all the time that XYZ country is buying gold, is
Right.
that putting a pressure on retail and institutions to also buy gold, or are they selling against that buy?
Well, I don't know if it's putting pressure on them. I think what it's doing is reinforcing the current trend, Steve, which is people are saying, you know what? I'm not real happy with this fiat currency. I got a piece of paper here or a piece of gold. Where do I want to be at? And as you pointed out early in the show, we're looking at a lot of alternative investments, and people are looking around going, "Hey, this gold thing isn't so crazy. It's up 33% on the year. Why wasn't I in that initially?"
And that's a good question. I mean, you're asking about it from the paper side. Are people buying futures paper or are they buying physical?
they're well, we're seeing at AU Secure, we're seeing a lot of people buying tremendous amount of silver.
Mm.
And because when you see the price at 25, 26, 2,700, people were going, wait a minute, I was just buying it for 16, and silver's at 25, 27, 30 now. It's still going up. Maybe I'll just put my toe in over there. But to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. We're seeing it. We're seeing them coming in to futures, even on the stock side in the
Mm.
funds. We're seeing some of the funds they coming back in. That ebb and flow in there has been very radical and large, but they're coming in at the moment. And of course, then we see physical and we move physical, and then we also see nations doing swaps. And also, just as a sidebar to that, because you and I have kind of kept an eye on the offshore activities,
Yeah.
BRICS has been a lot of these centralized African countries have, instead of sending their doré gold, the unrefined gold is called doré, and rather than sending it out, they're keeping it in their vaults. So we're seeing less gold coming in, less refining going on, and more nations holding it. And then we'll have to see. BRICS is still developing. We don't know where it's going to go, but people are preparing for it.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I look at it from the retail perspective. Costco was selling gold
Oh,
right out of the store.
and they can't keep it on the shelf. And the individual that sells it to him is a friend, has been dealing gold with me for 20, 25 years. A great guy. And the company is tremendous, top quality, probably some of the best gold that you can buy. And
Mm.
he told me, he says, we can't pour them fast enough for him. And I talked to Costco and said, why don't you let me deliver silver to you? Because it's time for you guys to start doing silver. And they said, we already have it in the works.
Yeah,
So
very cool. But come on, Peter. I mean, what are these young people doing? They're not buying gold, are they? They're buying Bitcoin, right?
You know what? In all fairness, Bitcoin's gotten kind of expensive.
Not
Hey,
expensive enough in my world. Let's go higher, right?
I like that. Yeah, but it's interesting in that, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because when I see a 25, 23-year-old saying to me, I'd like to put a couple of rolls of silver away, and I
Mhm.
go, that's really looking at the future. He goes, hey, my dad bought this coin for $8 and it's worth 30.
Right.
I think I'm just gonna do a little bit, maybe a roll at a time. And I love to see that because it's just smart. It's just the kids are putting a little bit away. And you know what? For their kids, for college, that's what I did with my kids. I bought boxes of silver at $12 and swapped them out when it was time for my kids to go to school.
I agree, man. I love it.
Oh, that you bought that from me, did you?
That's right. I've got about 4 boxes
That
here
was a
in
while
Detroit.
ago. Yeah.
Hey, it was $19. Now
Yeah.
we're at 31, right? Look, I
Oh,
get it.
no, no, we're trading probably 33 for those coins. So you've almost tripled your money.
You want to buy them back from me?
I will.
I bet you
Absolutely.
will. Let's talk about that. When you look at I look at gold and silver ratio all the time
Sure.
because for me, when is a good time to buy something? When is a good time to sell something, right? And look,
Right.
Peter, I see it all the time. I buy gold and silver when it is cheap. And the only way for me to know when to sell is when I see all these gold commercials on TV running around saying, "Hey, buy my gold from my
Yeah.
company because now
Right.
it's a good investment." It's
Yeah.
usually because they want to dump it, right?
Sure. Sure, and it's what we call the mushroom kiosks. The little push carts that pop up after the rain, and they've got gold on the cart, and they got a good deal for you. I think one of the things we should do for our viewers, Steve, in good conscience, is tell you that gold is money, and anybody that offers it to you at a discount, run. That's the first thing, but it's just a good place for the long term. The question is always, where do I get in? And the
Right,
best thing to do is what you did, which is just dollar cost average. I bought it at 18, but then I bought a little more at 22, and then I bought a little more at 25.
right.
Now it's at 30, and what's my average? Obviously your average is coming up, but you managed to buy it at a good level.
And you know, it's interesting. We just had an election, and
Right.
we had a pretty big turnaround here. Now with President-elect Donald Trump. Now, um, he seems to like gold. He's got gold toilets. I mean, the guy likes gold, right? But is this going to equate to prices moving higher because of the president?
Well, I did a half-hour special in India on Trump, and got 24 million viewers or something. I mean, they're every a lot of people have that on their mind, and I would say this. First off, Trump is very friendly to mining. He
Hmm.
believes that gold, silver, platinum, palladium, iron, ore, all the things that create an infrastructure. Copper, he's a very strong on copper. He
Yeah.
believes these mines should be active. These recyclers, God bless them during COVID. They were the only reason that we had copper in a lot of cases. He's very friendly to that. Biden has all but stopped permits for drilling and mining, and his last move going out of office now, he's going to stop coal production. So when Trump comes in, to your point, he's all of that is going to turn around. But remember, and this is important, you don't just throw a switch and everything comes running off the end of the conveyor belt.
Right.
You have to hire people. You have to qualify them.
You know, it's interesting. We were just talking about President-elect Trump, and but you know, when I think about policy in general,
Mhm.
I have to think about it from how is it going to affect the world? And some of these policies of tariffs, some of these policies of isolationism and nationalism, is that going to also affect the price of gold as well?
It's always interesting to me that what we have, some of the metals that are traded are rated as a national security item. We
Mm,
must have rhodium, we must have copper, and a lot of them are exempt. And for example, when there was COVID, the government gave me a permit to travel anywhere because by moving metals around was part of national security. So, generally speaking, I don't believe that gold will rally off of tariff numbers or break down because there's no reason to tariff it. It's used in the supercomputer cooling fins, and we desperately need it. So any product coming in, I don't think will be tariffed.
right. And you know, I'm looking at it, I just had to look it up myself. The United States has 8,133 tons of gold in reserves. Are we as a country going to be buying more gold as well as other? I mean, we're already seeing other countries buying it, but are we going to add to our stockpile?
We haven't at all. Rand Paul has discussed this at length, and he has asked for audits of the Fort Knox depository. I think 33 times in 33 years, and it's been refused every time. So, how much gold is in there? Do we need to add more? Should we be taking some out to use it to sequester the national debt by putting gold against it and doing that? There's a lot of talk about it, but as I see it, to answer your question, I don't see the U.S. buying gold at the moment. And back in the day when they created the U.S. currency, Hamilton was told point blank that they had to buy most of their product being mined in the U.S. rather than importing it from England.
Yeah.
So, and that has held since the formation of this nation.
Yeah, and I'm reading the Fort Knox facts now that the United States has held gold at a book value since $42 an ounce.
Yes. There's been some debate about, hey, why don't we revalue the asset at least to 2,000 to reflect our our national debt, national average, national holdings, and it falls on deaf ears every year.
And is there a reason for that?
I don't understand it. To me, it would just seem that if we have a national asset and it's grossly undervalued, why shouldn't we bring it into play against our national debt? But So far, I see no reason for it.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at it right now that you know with the book value, but you know the first gold to arrive in Fort Knox was in 1937, um,
Okay.
and so we haven't really been adding to that gold since I guess we got off the gold standard in '70s.
Yeah, since Nixon,
Yeah,
absolutely. When he depegged the dollar, and that was exactly right, Steve.
yeah, and I'm also reading that the second historic visit to Fort Knox was in 2017. So we really haven't done anything even since 2017.
Right. And that was a visit. They just walked in and went, "Hi, hello," waved at the gold. They didn't count it. So, you know, I don't know if the
Did the
gold
gold
answered.
wave back at them and say, "Hi, I'll see
Yeah,
you in another 100
I was
another 100
wondering,
years."
but nope. So far, nobody's gotten in there with a gun to do a radiological assay of each bar. But
And
let's
so
hope.
when you look at gold in general, so let me ask this question. We're still mining gold in the United States, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
we're still pulling it up out of the ground. We're still assaying everything. Is that affecting the price of gold? Are we digging more now than we have in the past since the price now is 26.41 right now?
Production. I was just called in not long ago to fly out to Reno to help someone appraise a mine that they were looking at, and so it's still very active. I do see gold deals come across my desk periodically. Um, no, it's just so difficult to mine. I mean, there are guys with EPA filings for 20 years to dig a mine.
Right.
The government has absolutely stymied all production. So the people that have producing mines have been increasing them, and but we're seeing more expansion offshore than we are onshore. So,
And speaking of
um,
offshore, I mean, the World Gold Council just said on the November 21st that China discovered the world's largest $83 billion worth of gold. Is that going to affect the price of gold as well?
absolutely. The first, if you remember Sunday evening, the people that follow me on LinkedIn, I put out an SOS. I said, look out, we're going to see some pressure in gold. They broke at 60, $70. And so I was lucky enough to get our people in front of that. But here's the thing. Do they mention the depth there? It's colossal. It's like 3 kilometers.
Yeah, it's 2 to 3 kilometers, depending on
Right.
where the vein is. Yeah. So how
Yeah.
so how does a company dig that? I mean, the Bucyrus machines aren't going all the way down there, right? How do you dig that out? And I mean,
Well, here's the thing: the Chinese have been very, very active in mining and still are today. And in my opinion, I don't see an ounce of gold coming out of there for anywhere from 3 to 4 years. I mean,
mm,
you have to remember now that it takes in the elevators, and my dear friend Danny Davis, who is affiliated with Impala Mines in South Africa, those miners would get in and they would ride for 5 minutes in an elevator going down to get to the bottom before they could offload. I mean, we're talking about massive depths, incredible amounts of machinery. And remember, anytime you put a hole in the earth, basically all that hole in the earth is you're just burning crude oil. That's
right.
all. It's number two diesel, baby. And you're pumping oxygen down to the people that are working down there. You're sucking water out because you have to worry about that. Temperatures variance get quite high the deeper you go into the earth. There's a lot of complicated things to acquire. And will it affect the gold market? Not for years, Steve.
And you have to ask the question: is China telling the truth too, right?
No, China? Well, let's just say that they might be exaggerating, but whether they are or aren't, the realities of mining are such that in order to drill a hole that big, in order to put tons of equipment down there and all the things that are necessary, is going to take a very long time.
You know, Peter, you literally are the gold standard here at Quasar Markets, and we appreciate your love for us and all the things that you do for us. So, Peter, until next time, I think we'll hold off on that. I want to ask you 1,000 questions, but you're a busy man.
Well, we try to stay busy over here, and but the markets have been absolutely marvelous. So, but my time for Quasar's people is always available, and anytime you need me, I'm here to help.
And you know what's interesting is AU Secure is actually on our platform. You can actually buy gold and silver and all kinds of precious metals right from the platform and
Yep,
right from the quality gold man himself, Peter Thomas.
yep.
Peter, until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Steve.